Without further ado, let's go right ahead and go into the second segment. And it should also be noted that right now, the women's basketball quarterfinal is, it's been going on. And the French team are currently destroying the German team as France hits another three-pointer to make the score 52-33 in favor of France. So just giving an update on the score for that game. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the fourth segment, I believe, once the game concludes, because we're still in the third quarter of that game. So I'll talk about that in the fourth segment, but this second segment is going to be all about Lauri Markkanen and the recent trade the recent re-signing between him and the Utah Jazz. So there have been a lot of talks about Lauri Markkanen being traded and how there's a possibility that the Warriors were going to end up acquiring him. But as of right now, it seems that, well, not really as of right now. I mean, it was confirmed that an hour ago, I believe, that Lauri Markkanen signed a 5-year, $238 million contract renegotiation and extension, including $220 million in new money. His agent, Michael Lachitsky of SIG Sports, tells ESPN. Woj recently, put this out there. So anything that Woj tweets out is usually a very reliable source. So, yeah. I mean, the Jazz, and there's also this article that was talking about it as well, so I'm just going to go ahead and read off some of the things. The Jazz star Lauri Markkanen has been the subject of numerous trade rumors this offseason, but that speculation can now officially be put to rest for at least another year. Markkanen's agent, Michael Lachitsky of SIG Sports, recently, just broke the news about the contract information and things like that. Now, the timing of this deal is significant since Markkanen waited until August 7th to sign. He is not eligible to be traded until next offseason. Had he signed a new contract with the Jazz on Tuesday, he would have been ineligible to be traded for 6 months, or until next season's February 6th trade deadline. By waiting until Wednesday to sign, Markkanen has tied himself to Utah for at least another entire season. That was by design, as a recent report made it clear the 27-year-old wanted to remain with the Jazz. Markkanen confirmed that in a statement after signing his new contract. Lauri Markkanen, quote, "They've all showed their belief in me, from the ownership to the front office to coach Will Hardy," Markkanen told ESPN. "It's a comfortable environment and those guys' resumes speak for themselves. I trust in the organization to help grow me as a person and a player, to build our team, and I'm ready to take on the..." Hold on just one second, I'm just scrolling down for this quote. "And I'm ready to take on the challenge." So he's more than content with his situation on Utah. I mean, surprisingly, I'm actually very surprised that this trade didn't end up going through. Usually, the Warriors, they have a lot of success when making moves. Like, that is usually the case. They can draft very well. They can sign players pretty well. And they usually can, they can make pretty solid trades that turn into championship teams. That was sort of the thought process about the Golden State Warriors and the GM and, the front office and things like that. Those I guess office organizations, I guess you could call it, those guys, they really get the job done. Like, they were able to draft Steph Curry, they were able to draft Klay Thompson and Draymond Green along with it to create a championship team. Then they were able to sign Kevin Durant in one of the craziest moves in sports history, and then right when Kevin Durant leaves and joins a completely new team, they create another championship team with Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole, who surprisingly end up just playing the best basketball of their lives at the right point in time. Like, they make championship teams. And, the thought process was that, the Warriors, theoretically, the Warriors' championship window is done. Now that Klay Thompson has decided to go with Dallas, it seems that the championship window for Golden State is over, right? But you would think that. I mean, Going into this offseason, I thought that Golden State was somehow miraculously going to acquire talent some way, somehow. And once I found out that they were in talks to acquire Lauri Markkanen, I immediately assumed the worst. But as of right now, the fact that they weren't able to acquire Lauri Markkanen only goes to show that right now this might be the end for the Warriors and, their dynasty and their winning years. Then again, we said that before when Klay Thompson was hurt, and then look what happened. They came back and they ended up winning. But I think this is really it, because if the Warriors team, if they don't get good in time, then the interest with Steph Curry is going to end up declining. And then, I'm just looking at the score of this game. The French team is still up 56 to 41. Oh, no, never mind. 54 to 41. They one of the players made a shot, but then, the clock expired. So, yeah. So far, France is still easily beating Germany, but again, Markkanen, he was averaging 23 points and 8 rebounds per game for the Jazz last season, while shooting nearly 40% from 3 and around 40% from the field as well. At least one Western Conference contender seemed intent on trying to find a way to acquire Markkanen, but the Jazz must value him more than some of their rivals. So that's all that the article has to say about this move. Again, I would have expected him to go with the Golden State Warriors, but I guess the Utah Jazz, they've been treating him properly. And with that in mind, with him being treated properly, I guess he would have seen, or I guess he thinks that there's no need to leave Utah as opposed to, just staying there and make the money. So it's a tough shot. But again, I would have expected him to go with Golden State, especially since, I think that he has a better chance to win on Golden State rather than, his chances to win on Utah. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is great for Utah, because now they have a confirmed star that they can build around, and they have, a confirmed star that they can, build for the future. And really that's a start. Like, once you have a player that you can build your team around, that's a start. And that goes to, that just, you grow successful, you become more successful as the years go on. Hopefully, if your player can develop properly, because Lauri Markkanen, it's a debate that Lauri could still be pretty good, and he could still be, better than what he is now. I mean, Lauri Markkanen recently started averaging these kinds of numbers, so maybe if he develops a little bit better and he develops a little bit more and he gets, a better feel for having the ball in his hands more often and maybe doesn't get injured, we can see him, go really far. Because now recently with his time with the Jazz, this is when he's been averaging 20 points per game. Like in every other year, when he was with Cleveland, when he was with Chicago, they didn't really utilize him that much. And because he was sort of underutilized, he wasn't really averaging that many points. And one other thing that sort of strikes me is how efficient he is from the three-point line. Like, for being such a tall player and for being such a I guess you could say well-rounded player. I say well-rounded just because of, his height and his frame, right? And, his skill on the basketball court. There's nothing that I think that he can't really do in terms of scoring the basketball. And just his height just makes it easier for him to rebound, as well as, facilitate if he needs to. He doesn't really facilitate that often because he only averages 2 assists, but, the option is there. He's well-rounded, like a well-rounded athlete. So if he develops, and if he develops that passing game so he could be a little bit more of a threat in the passing, then we could look at then maybe he'll be extremely dangerous for the Jazz. But again, this is all down to just how the Jazz develop the team around him and how they, handle their offense. But aside from that, that is all that I have on this segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the third segment, where I talk about not the NBA players, excuse me, the Olympic athletes who have scored 25 points or more in several games in the Olympics. I'm just going to talk a little bit about them right after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.